Is optimal training dead?
Do these influencers really think I would have gotten better gains had I trained like today's optimal bros?
Today's episode is a little bit different than our regular programming. Zach and I react and discuss one of Alex Leonidus' most recent videos. The video we react to is Alex's 60-minute long critique of what seems to be a new fad of hyper fixating on optimal training. I've linked Alex's video in the description below for you to watch if you'd like to get a little bit more context about what Zach and I discuss. Before we dive in, Zach and I want to know what you think about optimal training. Do you think it's dead? Why or why not? Let us know what you think in the comments as you're watching. All right, let's dive in.
What do you think? Did it resonate with you in general? Do you agree? Or you kind of, because you your technique, for those that haven't watched, go check out Sam's technique and everything when he does those videos. Your technique in my mind is locked in, completely different than mine. It's optimal, right? Meanwhile, I'm not optimal. So I don't know. What do you think when you saw that and
Good question. So here's my approach. It's really simple. And I think I'm on the same page as him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the important things for muscle growth are training really hard, genuinely training really, really hard to apply more and more mechanical tension to your muscles, because that's what drives for muscle growth. So those two principles: train hard for for extra mechanical tension over time. And then this third principle, which is to do all of that for as long as you possibly can by not injuring yourself. And when I say not injuring yourself, I don't mean doing a heavy squat and tearing your hamstring or something like that, or some kind of a knee injury happening. I mean more like developing nagging injuries. So for me, I like to keep my technique really tight while I'm training as hard as possible, because it massively decreases the probability that I'm going to develop a nagging injury, because ultimately I find for myself and with people that I've worked with that what interrupts progress kind of more than anything else, like if you take someone that's really, really getting after it and determined, it's the thing that blocks progress isn't like a lack of determination. If they're already really determined, it's usually like a nagging pain that gets in the way, that inhibits their ability to do bicep curls the way that they want, or to do chest presses. They have to change exercise, and I have to do that for myself. It still happens to me even though I try to train with the best technique possible.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is to keep my technique as tight as possible, because it just lowers the probability that I'm going to injure myself. And then I just train as hard as I possibly can doing that. And then there's the added bonus of I have a better mind of muscle connection when I train that way. I feel my muscles working maybe more than I would if I kind of just go the blunt force trauma, kind of really kind of crush crush each rep, crush each set without. Maybe if my technique was a little bit more gray. But that being said, so that's my personal preference. That's my way of training, which I think is in alignment with what his training principle is. He doesn't mention minimizing the risk of nagging injury or nagging pain, but his main principle seems to be just train hard. You don't need to fixate on the rep range per se. He makes a point of saying his money range seems to be 4 to 8 reps. He likes training heavy and he likes training hard. And he also mentions that he does higher rep
certain
ranges.
exercises don't work that way.
Yes. So he makes a point of saying that too. So I agree with him. You don't need to marry yourself to certain rep ranges or certain intensities, like how heavy you're lifting. I'm completely on the same page as him. I think that if you train really, really hard, then you're gonna probably build muscle, and if you keep lifting heavier. And then for me, I like to just do it in a way where I'm gonna lower the probability that I'm gonna injure myself
Yeah.
doing it. And I don't necessarily, again, I'm not trying to like fear monger about like tearing a muscle or like tearing a tendon. I mean like a
Yeah.
nagging injury where you get a tendon that starts to get inflamed, and then it's just annoying, like an
Hmm.
annoying pain. So like
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing that I like to avoid. But I let's say you take someone that doesn't train the same way as me, like with I'm trying to keep my technique as crispy as possible, but you
Hmm.
take someone that like maybe they're not training at 95% of good technique, they're training at 80% of good technique, but overall like they're still training hard and they're still training
Yeah.
overall a good range of motion, and their reps are standardized, as in like most of their reps look the same overall. It's not like they're doing like half reps sometimes and like full range other
Yeah.
time, tempos all over the place. But you know, it looks pretty good overall. 80% the way there, and they're training super, super hard. You can get a person that gets just as good of results as I get, or even
Yeah.
better results, because at the end of the day, the same principle that drives for muscle growth is there, which is
Yeah.
you're still exposing their muscles to higher and higher amounts of muscle growth. So if
Yeah.
you use you and I as an example, if our technique doesn't always look the exact same, but we're both exposing our muscles to higher amounts of mechanical tension. So you
Hmm.
mentioned that sometimes what did you call it? The like the hitch
Like
that
the
you
little
do,
hitch. Yeah. The
like
hitch.
the
Yeah.
jerking movement, right? So like
Yep.
bicep curls, you kind of like do a little bit of an extra extraneous kind of movement at the top of each
Hmm.
rep. At the end of the day, that from doing that, it doesn't mean that you're not going to build as much muscle, or like
Yeah.
you're not going to build as much muscle as someone who doesn't do that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Doesn't mean that you're still might be applying like overall the exact same amount of
Yeah.
mechanical tension as if you didn't do that. Maybe, or
Yeah.
it might the difference just might be trivial. The reason why like I don't do it for myself, for example, or try not to, is like there's just that moment of like zero G, like zero gravity, like
Yeah.
moment, you know, like Olympic
Like the
lifting.
move
That
of a hill or something. Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
it's the oh crap moment of the
Yeah.
rep where it's just like it doesn't need to be there. But
Yeah.
I get it. It's like you're trying to train really, really hard. You're trying to push your limit, so it might not look
Hmm.
perfect. So
Hmm.
and I've honestly, there's been phases where I have trained like that, and that's when I built
Yeah.
the majority of
Well,
my muscle. And he also brings that up as a point, which we can talk about in a bit. But yeah, a lot of
yeah.
thoughts there.
Well,
What are you
I
thinking?
think like the one of the things I took away from it, I don't think he clearly states this, but it's kind of alluded like, but everyone's individual, and I think your bodies respond differently, right? So like how you work and you can get the same results different. It's really like the people that push, like you have to do this exercise this way to get this results, and if you don't like, whenever people start speaking like that, especially influencers or whoever are pushing videos out like that, because that's the new hip thing. It's kind of disingenuous because someone could do a different technique and it could work for them because everyone's different individuals. And I love the part where he brings up like most of these people that are pushing this new optimal training have done, maybe suboptimal in the past, have gotten jacked in the past doing whatever, ego lifting, doing like traditional barbell lifts. And then
Oh
they're
yeah,
doing this and then they're preaching it. And so now younger, maybe people that are trying to get into lifting, they're now intimidated. They're like, "Oh, I have to go buy this like wrist strap thing to go do something." Like, and so I think he's just saying, "Hey, call a spade, work hard, lift hard, train your muscles." Because I love that he says, you don't have to do 4 to 8 reps, but I like doing 4 to 8 reps. But I think he's learned to push himself hard. Because I think we talked about this on one of the other episodes, and it full circle it. Like we're talking about, like it's the journey, not the destination. I think when it comes to like potentially people maybe thinking of optimal as not pushing hard, like you learn by working hard through like high rep sets or doing a little bit extra, and you're building that desire to come to the gym. You're building that mental discipline to keep coming back. And because I could, he didn't say this, I think, but basically these people that are coming and doing optimal, they're not actually working out very hard. And I think it's kind of funny. He jokes like, yeah, they got these perfect lives. They got like they're these kids at home that are playing video games and just like getting all the rest they can, no jobs, and of course they can go in and they go in and do 3 sets of like 8 reps and then they're done for the day. You know, did you really push yourself? It's interesting about the injury prevention because he does talk about how he used to like max every workout when he was younger, and you know, I think that's maybe not the wisest thing to do, but I think there is some truth to it. Like you can work harder than you think. Like your body is an awesome thing. So if you do it safely, you do it right, you can train really freaking hard. I think harder than a lot of people think they can. So kind of some of my thoughts about that as well.
Yeah. Well, I think you had so many good points in there. And first thing is I think it's so true that a lot of the lifters now who have a really impressive frame, they've built a ton of muscle. Chances are the way that they built most of their muscle is different than the way that they train now. So,
Yeah.
and I'll use myself as an example.
Mm.
I built the majority of my muscle training a bro split, like a body part split, like
Mm.
Monday's chest day, Tuesday's shoulder day,
I've heard
Wednesday's
that's not
leg day.
optimal. That's not optimal, I've heard.
Exactly. So that was my training split for like, I started lifting when I was like 12, and I was kind of slow to build muscle because I'm stubborn and slow to learn.
Mhm.
But I did that until I was like 24 or 25. And then I
Yeah.
changed training splits to a more optimal split, which I do think I have improved pretty significantly with since I did that. But still, I built the most muscle within those first 10 to 15 years of training doing
Yeah.
the body part split. And also to your point as well, what you mentioned that he used to like try to max everything out for every session. I kind of used to do that too. And honestly, I
Yeah.
still kind of do that. Like, kind of what our system is like.
Yep.
Basically, you're trying to always progress, always like beat what you did the last session, get an extra rep and lift a little bit
Mhm.
heavier. And basically that system is the
You're
intention
maxing.
is for
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
exercise you're maxing out, you're trying to hit a PR for every single exercise that you're doing. So we
Mhm.
still kind of function the same way.
Yeah.
But it's interesting too, the the thing that he mentions and that you brought up about like people being afraid of um, being able to recover. Not that term. That wasn't the right term. The fatigue monster. Like
Yeah.
being scared of the fatigue monster. Like, uh-oh, I can't like max everything out, or I can't lift super heavy because it might mess me up tomorrow. Might mess up my recovery. So yeah, you're right
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I think from my own experience now, and also throughout the process of building muscle when I was younger, there probably doesn't need to be as much fear. If I don't know if fear is the right word, or over
Yeah.
fixation on fatigue. The human body, I don't think, is as fragile as it is made out to seem a lot of the time. I
Mhm.
do think I do think that recovery is super important. I've
Yeah.
lowered my training frequency relatively recently, and I'm actually able to progress faster from doing that. So there is
Yeah.
an element of like if you like go out all out and just try to get after it for every session, yeah, it's gonna hit the body. You're
Yeah.
gonna feel it, and it's probably warranted that you consider recovery so that you can keep progressing. But if you're able to keep progressing,
Yeah.
then you're probably okay and don't need to worry too much about like overdoing it as far as fatigue goes. And maybe
Yeah.
that's the thing is as far as fatigue goes, I think you can auto regulate that, as in
Mhm.
you can use your own judgment to be able to you can use your detect the feeling
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
having too much fatigue. Like if you're too fatigued, like you'll probably feel a lot more tired than usual. Your body will
Yeah.
probably feel banged up. You'll probably feel nagging injuries coming on, like inflamed tendons and joints and that sort
Mhm.
of thing. But if you're not feeling those things, then you're probably okay. You're probably not overly fatigued.
Yeah.
What are some of your
Yeah,
thoughts?
with the fatigue, like it's interesting because I train a lot. And I think I train pretty hard. And especially now that I'm doing the marathon stuff, I'm doing 2 days, I'm running. lifting. And the other day I took a rest day from lifting on Saturday, and I didn't run as well, or something. I had like a full rest day, and then I went to the gym on Sunday, which I never usually do. And I went by myself for the first time in forever, and so I didn't have to wait with like my partner switching weights and all this other stuff. And I had an epic chest day. I mean, I don't know, it was not in the program. I ended up doing 9 sets on the bench. I was just like, okay, let's do it. I was doing like a more weight than I normally do. I was just going to failure, but I felt awesome because I think I had that extra rest, you know. So I think there's some truth to it, but I also think when I'm not feeling my best, like today, I still go. And even though I think it might not be optimal because I didn't, perform as well, I didn't hit the number that I did last week. And you mentally, you're like, oh, I had a great day on Sunday, and just like a couple days later, I can't hit the same reps like today. What? Well, it's because I'm tired. I haven't got sleep, and I'm worn out, right? Like, so it makes sense. But I think what's more important for 99% of people is the consistency to still go to the gym, consistently still put the work in, and just like the longevity of continuously doing something. Like consistency is just you showing up doing it. Maybe you don't PR every time, maybe you don't make progress every time, but you're not losing progress, I think. And I think for me, the we talk about so much of the actual muscle growing and all the best ways to do it, but I think the real thing is up here, like in your head and then in your heart, like your desire. Like, are you going to push hard? And I think sometimes you have to be a little bit suboptimal to then be more optimal later. Like that, if that makes sense. So you have to kind of learn what doesn't work, listen to your body, feel it out. But okay, I'm still going to go. I know I'm just not feeling it today, so maybe I'm just going to get something in. I'm going to work on something else, but I just did not go because that's an excuse. And then you're going to slowly get more excuses potentially. Now, I think for like you and me and like some serious people, I think we've already developed that. But again, and what his video is kind of alluding to, these influencers and these YouTubers that are pushing it out to everyone, someone that just needs to go to the gym 3 days a week and do like a push pull legs, you need to not miss one of those 3 days because you're not going 6 days a week like me. So those people need to go, and those people need to push to failure, and those people need to go and work hard every time. I don't know if that does that make sense. Like, I don't know. I kind of came up with that. Sometimes being suboptimal to be more optimal later. I don't know if that logic checks out, but I kind of liked it.
Yeah, but there's also you had a couple more really good points in there too, that the messaging that comes out. So even his messaging
Mhm.
um about questioning optimal training being dead, that's a certain audience. Different audiences are going to hear that in different ways, and that's where
Mhm.
social media and influencers can be really confusing sometimes, where
Mhm.
someone's message to one person might be absolutely perfect, but if that same message reaches a different person or a different
Mhm.
demographic, then it can be confusing. So for example, um, like the whole fatigue thing, there is probably a demographic of people that would benefit from taking fatigue management into more extreme consideration. So individuals
Mhm.
that do train very regularly and regularly very hard, they might benefit from taking that kind of thing not more seriously, but like I think everyone can take it seriously,
Yeah.
but they're the ones that message can directly be applied to. So
Mhm.
like if the message is about managing fatigue, it's those kind of people that might need to hear that they could benefit from managing fatigue by like chilling out a little bit every now and again so they can hit
Yeah.
it harder. So like that's a point. And maybe if to your point, if it's a kind of person that just needs to get to the gym, like it's hard for them to get to the gym 3 days a week, which is fine. A lot of the people are like that. Not everyone likes going to the gym, which is totally okay. It's
Mhm.
like I don't really like doing math, and some people absolutely love doing math, and that's totally okay.
Yep.
Um, they that group of people, that demographic, to your point, probably doesn't need to be focusing on overdoing it as far as fatigue goes.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
even to your point as well, if you're constantly trying to judge how your fatigue levels, like, oh, I feel a little tired today, I got to skip my gym session. That's hyperbole. But like,
Yeah.
or if someone's feeling a little bit off or like has a bit of a headache, like, should they skip the gym? I don't know.
Right.
I like
Yeah.
like
Well,
I mean,
and
to each their
you
own,
don't
but
know until you're there a lot of times. There's so
yeah,
many times where I don't think I'm gonna. Yeah.
you feel better after like 5-10 minutes of like just walk on the treadmill, get a little bit of a warm up, and it's like you're in the gym, and then it's like, okay, I'm here, I can do it. But it's like
Yeah.
sometimes it is just the act of getting into the gym that can be tough.
Yeah. Well, there's days where I'll, hit that first set and I'm like, mm, that doesn't feel good, right? But maybe by the third set, I'm like, oh, I'm cooking right now. Like I'm feeling awesome, you know? And I've noticed this almost more with the marathon training than with my lifting. There are days where I'm like, oh, I don't want to go for this run. And then I did my first long run for this marathon training. It was a 9-mile run, and I was supposed to run it like at a 8:40 pace.
Yeah.
And I just ran. I didn't really worry about it. And I finished at an 8-minute pace and I felt awesome. And I'm like, oh, I wonder why. Like I didn't really get good sleep. I ate like really crap, but I had a lot of carbs, I guess, in me. But just some days you have it. The weather might be perfect, all these different factors. And speaking of fatigue, I think I benefited because I kind of, I had some background with lifting. I kind of knew of stuff, but really, really went deep when I was working with you and learning all the proper stuff. So I've never really had to deal with injuries, knock on wood, with lifting, because I've never done like the egoing stuff. But with the marathon training, I got injured a couple times last year, just nagging things, worked through it. And this year, I'm already taking a smarter approach. Like if the plan says run X amount of miles, but I'm just not feeling it, or maybe my calf feels a little bit tight, like I'll just stop and stretch, or I'll stop and walk for a little bit, or maybe I'll just cut the run short because I know the consistency and the longevity is more important than hitting the plan that day. And I think the same thing can be applied to lifting. If it says you got to do 12 reps, 3 sets, but you only did 10 reps, that's okay. Like, especially if it's something's feeling off.
Yeah. Well, injuries are interesting.
Mhm.
I I think we can learn a lot from them. I feel like I've become a way better lifter because I've injured myself so often, like those kind of little nagging injuries
Yeah.
from training suboptimally for the first 10 to 15 years of lifting. But I learned a lot, and I learned how to train better from experiencing them. I wouldn't be as good of a lifter if I hadn't made those mistakes. So
Yeah.
that can be a benefit of training suboptimally too, is like, yeah, actually making the
Yeah.
mistakes so that you have something to actually learn from. But I find that through making through developing those injuries, in addition to experiencing them to kind of teach us how to train better, to learn how,
Mhm.
that's one of one of the big pillars that has taught me how to train with better technique is like after having recovered from so many injuries, it's like, well, I'm gonna train like this is
Yeah.
how I don't hurt things. But in addition to that, it changes your perspective on things. It's like
Mhm.
it makes it makes it puts things into perspective in that, like you noted, like with the running, if you miss one session because your ankle is or calf is feeling tight, like it kind of sucks, right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
after experiencing like a more serious like ankle injury in the past, that what sucks more is if I do go for that run and then
Push
I'm
through
out
it.
for
Yeah.
3 weeks or 4 weeks,
Yes.
or I have to like
Yeah.
the rest of my marathon prep, I have to like be careful with it. Like
Yep. It's a mental strain
that's
too.
oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh
Like every
yeah.
run,
That's
oh my gosh, am I gonna get hurt? Like, can't push
yeah.
myself. Yeah.
But I mean, you learn that from doing
Mhm.
things suboptimally.
Yeah, and so I have 2 points on that. Do you think, number 1, when you do get injured and stuff like that, in some way, I don't say, like, you gotta look at the bright side on everything, that it makes you focus on maybe things that you were ignoring before. So I know, um and again, I haven't really experienced a lot of lifting injuries, but when I injured my knee a couple times, like, I did physical therapy, and all of a sudden I realized, oh, like my glutes are really weak and my knee is caving in every time I run. Like, so then they made me work on a lot of isolation exercises that focused on weak aspects of things that I was neglecting. Um, have you experienced the same thing with whatever injuries you've had? You're like, okay, hey, this is not working. I'm going to work on something else, and then you realize, oh, that muscle's kind of weak. I haven't been hitting that because I've been just doing what I like and I've been compensating. Does that make sense? Do you experience
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I've kind of in a it completely makes sense.
Mhm.
I have kind of used that principle to help me, but with a slightly different approach. So, like, let's say in the past, ooh, this is a good one. I've experienced ankle pain from
Mhm.
from Smith squatting, barbell squatting, split squatting, and I think hack squatting all in the same like program block. This would have
Mhm.
been like 6 or 7 years ago. I got real bad ankle pain and pretty much all squatting variation. Like I couldn't even lift light without my ankles hurting. I think it was
Yeah.
both ankles. I don't know why.
Mm.
Um, but it forced me to have to change what I was doing. So I couldn't do split squats, like just couldn't do them. Couldn't barbell squat, couldn't Smith squat. So I was really limited on my squat variation. Could do leg extensions, but I didn't want to just like train my quads just doing leg extensions.
Yeah.
Probably in retrospect, I probably could have held on to like the majority of my muscle just fine from just doing leg extensions. But I wanted to do something else. So I got I just programmed in extra leg press because
Mhm.
for whatever reason with the how I was set into position and as long as I didn't lift too heavy and I moved with control, I could do the leg press and I could train my quads really, really hard
Mhm.
without ankle pain. And I knew I was training my quads in a different way, but I just shifted my focus to not really working on a weaker area
Mm.
because I was still training my quads and maybe a little bit more my adductors. My glutes were getting hit too with the leg press. I think adductors more than glutes, the way that I do it. But I just kind of shifted my focus to instead of fixating on the things that were out of commission, which is all the other squat pattern movements, I just kind of started to focus on, okay, I can do the leg press
Yeah.
and I'm hitting things a little bit differently. But because I can do it, I'm just gonna hit it hard, and as long as I don't hurt myself again, and I'm just
Yeah.
gonna focus on that. So instead of hyper fixating on the things that I can't do, I try to just switch my focus to the things that I can do. So it's not so much of like working on an area of weakness for me.
Mhm.
At least that's not been my past. I can see how that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Um, but it was more of just switching focus to
Mhm.
not fixating on the things I couldn't do, but fixating on the things that I could do and just working
Yeah. Well,
on
and that
them.
kind of made me think, like, it also helps, again, trying to look at the grass is always, trying to look at the bright side of things. Like, it makes you switch up your program too, I think, and maybe realize something you didn't realize before. Like, you were doing what
Yeah.
you thought was optimal, and then you do something different. You're like, oh man, that hits for some reason because my body is different than your body. Like, maybe that is working better for me because I'm doing something different now. So I think it also keeps things fresh, keeps rotation doing something different. I think that's good for us because I think the body is really good at adapting. So if you're just doing the same things all the time,
Yeah. It
yeah. So
forces
yeah,
you it forces you to step outside of your regular routine every now and again.
yeah,
I'm real big on like sticking with the same program basically for as
mhm,
long as like I can make progress out of it. But sometimes that's the blessing in disguise is
yeah,
you're forced to try something new and it's like, wow, this is hitting harder than anything I've done before. Now I can
yeah,
progress with this. And you would have never known if you hadn't been forced to
yeah.
change what you're doing. So yeah, that's a
It's
really
funny
good
because
point.
you know how we were doing deadlifts before, and then we took it out specifically for the bodybuilding prep, and then afterwards I was like, yo, I want to hit the 1,000 pound club, so we added them back. So I hit the 1,000 pound club. And now I'm like, okay, I'm done with deadlifts, right? So I'm going out of town and I'm meeting up with the guy going to the gym and this weekend. And he was like, I was like, what do you want to hit? You know, and he's like, oh, you can lift more than me. And I'm like, well, I don't know about all that. He's like, I really like legs. I'm like, cool, let's do a killer leg day. He's like, and I love deadlift. I'm like, awesome. Let's do some deadlift. And like, you can teach me better technique, because I think one of the things that I struggle with is my technique with it. I think that's the more limiting factor than whatever the muscles that I don't have or do have. Like, and so I'm actually going to use this as an opportunity to do something different, keep it fresh. I'm in a different gym. Let's do whatever he wants to do, but also take an opportunity to learn and watch, and then ask him and say, hey, can you show me, why is my hip shooting back? What am I doing? Like, whatever. And so I think it's good to spice it up every now and then, and shock your body, and, you know, see where it's at. But, yeah. I have another question. So we're talking about the injury. Do you think there's, and I heard this on a basketball when I was watching like the NBA playoffs. They always talk about this, but the difference between injured and hurt, and maybe not in this context between injured and hurt, but the difference between being injured and just like the actual pain of what it is to lift heavy weight. Because I've been experiencing this with some of my friends that I've been going to the gym with, newer lifters, and I'm like, you got like 4 more reps. What are you doing? And they're like giving up. Oh, it's so hard. I'm like, no, like you got it. But I think they're confusing like what actual failure or whatever is with it's hurt, and then what it is to be sore afterwards. You know, like I think it's just a misconception. I don't know what your thoughts are. I know you probably have more experience with that with different people.
I think you've stumbled on a question that is really hard to get to the bottom of. That's something that I've experienced a lot, is after having worked with so many clients, um, sometimes someone will say like, hey, like they'll describe a pain, but when someone describes a pain, it can it can mean it can be very difficult to know exactly what they're experiencing based off of how they're describing it. So, for example, exactly to your point, someone could be doing squats and saying, "Oh, my knee really hurts." And you kind of dig into that question, like, okay, like your knee really hurts. You're like, well, no, it's not my knee. It's like right above my knee. And then it's like, okay, like you mean that like this part of your knee, like this teardrop looking patch of flesh here? It's like, yeah, it's like right above my knee. It's like, oh, that's your VMO. That's part of your quadricep muscle. Like, does it feel like it's your muscle? And it's like, yeah, well, actually, yeah, I think it's a muscle. It's like, okay, so your
Yeah.
knees are actually okay. It's the muscle. And like, uh, does it feel like it's like a sharp pain, like it's like your tendon or something? No, it's just the muscle. It's like, okay, well, that's actually probably okay. That's actually what we want. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's tough to know, if I think for some people to know if a pain is like an injury kind of pain. Like I
Yeah.
think that's the difference between like injury and hurting. So like it should hurt when you're training really hard. You're doing leg extensions, you're doing like a set of
Yeah.
15 to 20 reps on leg extensions. It should feel like absolute fire, like so much fire
Yeah.
acid build, or metabolic stress build up in the quads. Like it should feel like an immense amount of fire, basically. And
Yeah.
and that's normal. That's actually what you want. That's not something to shy into. That's something to actually lean into. Basically, a good analogy I've heard is when you're doing something like high reps on a leg extension, you can imagine it's like what you want to do if you put your hand on a hot element is just take your hand off the hot element. When you're
Yeah.
doing like leg extensions, you might feel the element at rep number 12, but you got to keep your hand there until you're at
Yeah.
rep number 20.
Push
You gotta,
through. Yeah.
so it's a very counterintuitive feeling. And I think that's a hard thing for people for some people to learn. I think it's something that you learn from experience of like continuing to train and trying hard to get an
Yeah.
understanding of what your limits actually are. It's something that you and I think some people intuitively kind of grasp that more easily than
Yeah.
others. Like thinking back, when I first started lifting, my whole mindset was always, for every single thing I did, I'm just gonna like pick up some weights. I'm gonna do this exercise that this
Yeah.
book is showing, the new Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding, Schwarzenegger, and I'm just gonna do absolutely as many reps as I can for whatever reason. Like if hurts, I'm just gonna keep going basically. And you know, maybe I was too far on
Yeah.
the other end of the spectrum because I did end up injuring myself, like
Yeah.
not just hurt, but injury. But I think other people, and this is just different personalities, they will
Mhm.
shy away
Mhm.
from the fire, the burning, the pain, the
Yeah.
tension. That is okay. But you're
I think
right. That's a
yeah.
really good point.
I think a lot of it's I think like mental. You know what I mean?
Oh
And then they make them believe something that's not there, and then they end up start lifting scared, and then that can actually cause an injury because they're not confident in it or whatever. I think that can happen a lot. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting because I've never had any awful injuries. But I just have this feeling like I just know, like, you can tell when your body's hurt or not. And I don't know why people push beyond. And I don't know if it's an ego thing or maybe they don't actually know or they're just gonna go anyways. And I think this is where like there are some probably hard and fast things that we should probably do like that are optimal. Like there are clearly unsafe things you can do in the gym, right? Like if you're just throwing up too heavy weight or you're really like rounding your back on a squat, like the percentage that you're going to hurt yourself is high if you're doing something out of your league. Um, I think that's why small steps are really important. Start slow, start easy, start small, build up, build the technique, all those things. I also think researching, um, and I have 2 points in this. Like I experienced this last year with the marathon. I hurt my IT band, and of course, when it started, it's crazy what Google will tell you nowadays. You start Googling, this is where it hurts. And of course, it tells you the worst thing ever, and you think you're going to have to chop your leg off. But like, I basically did a lot of research, asked some of my running friends, and basically you can run through it. It's just pain. It's just inflamed, like the tendon gets tight or whatever. And when people got injured because of it, it's not the actual injury, it's because you run differently because of the pain. Um, so I looked at that and I made the decision, okay, it's 2 weeks out from the marathon. I took some rest. I was gonna do the marathon. So I knew I was going to sacrifice through the pain for that time because I had spent, 15 weeks training. I'm not gonna give it up. But I took a ton of time afterwards. So like knowing what is a legit injury that's going to continue to make you injured more and something that is not an actual injury, it's just your body is telling you you overdid it. And then you have to make the decision. And I think it's different
Distinction.
if it's a performance goal versus like if you got nothing to do, like, hey, take some time off. But if you've been training for something, you got an event, or if your job requires you to do something, like, okay, you have to make that decision to push through it or not. And then be cognizant though, like if I keep doing this, I'm going to hurt my other leg because I'm compensating and I'm leaning over here and that's going to cause an injury. Like, so, I think there's a little bit of that to it.
I really like listening to, or I in the past I've really liked listening to Lane Norton talk about
Mm.
what he's learned about injury management and how he's recovered from genuinely serious injuries. And he's like an OG natural bodybuilder. I don't think he competes anymore in natural bodybuilding, but he does compete in powerlifting, and he is
Mhm.
very, very strong. And he's talked about in the past how he's had some serious injuries, and what he's learned about injury science and our psychology, how that's helped him to work around his injuries over the years. And think he still gets them, but it's all, he talks about how much of an effect your mindset plays a role in overcoming like genuine injuries. So like
Mhm.
people that consider themselves to be like very fearful of developing an injury or re-injuring themselves, or people that feel just tend to be suspect that they're more fragile, or people that when they do have an injury, they just fixate on it, they just think
Yeah.
about it all the time. They tend to be the people that that injure themselves more and that take longer to recover from those injuries, versus the people that have like a different approach, a different mindset.
Yeah.
What's the best way to articulate it? I guess to not hyperfixate on the injury, to kind of accept it, to try not to focus on it, and to try to work around it
Another
quickly and not
challenge
give up,
just to get by. Yeah.
not consider themselves as fragile. I'm doing a bad job of
No,
trying
no,
to
I love it.
demonstrate it
It
when
makes total sense to me. I can totally see that. I would have to check it out.
it's helped me a lot too.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah, for
yeah.
sure. So when you were saying that, when you were describing this guy, you talked about for natural lifters. And so did you catch it in the video when he talked about like unless they go and get enhanced or whatever? I thought it was very interesting, throwing some shade, I think, there at them, because then at that point, like either they're fake natties or not. So people are talking about being optimal, but they're just, maybe taking some things to help them. But I don't know enough about the natural bodybuilding. Maybe you can comment on this. He basically made the claim that natural bodybuilding physiques have not really developed though with this optimal training. He doesn't. I think what I took from it, he doesn't think their physiques are looking better than before. Do you agree, disagree, or do you think it has anything to do with the training style, or what do you think?
Yeah, another really good question. To that, I don't know if I can fully answer the question because I think that's based on a lot of speculation on his part. That point
Mhm.
is, so he's making a generalization that
Yep.
people that put these optimal technique practices into practice tend to not get the best results or have the best physiques unless he's suggesting maybe the guys that do are enhanced. So that's a pretty big speculation, but that's what it is.
Mhm.
He's making an assumption that we don't know for sure. So I don't know because I don't know
Yeah.
for sure either, and I don't know every single lifter and how they all train because
Mhm.
it's just such a huge generalization to make. But I can tell you that, let's see. From the people that I prefer to expose myself to their content the most, they tend to train they have overall they follow the big principles that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So like they train hard, they train with um, trying to get better from one
Mhm.
session to the next. So there's progressive overload, and it looks like they train like with decent enough technique.
Yeah. Yeah.
They aren't all using like, the best cable angle to do
Yeah.
lateral raises. Um, but what they are doing, it looks like they're doing it really well, and they're following those big 3 or 4
Yeah.
principles that drive for muscle growth. So and those people are like the 3D MJ guys.
Yep.
Um, Jeff Nippard gets a lot of hate because
Yeah.
he's like a lot of people say he's too optimal, too science-based,
Spent a
doesn't train
year to
hard.
get no muscle. I'm just kidding.
Well, so that's some of that's some of the critique that he's got. But I mean, you look at the guy, and he's got a pretty great physique. He's a natural
Mhm.
lifter. He's got a physique that most people would basically die for to have
Yeah.
themselves. And I mean, he's probably one of the best, most extreme examples of like an optimal
Yeah.
lifter that gets
Yeah.
the most hate. But he's got an incredible physique. So
Yeah.
yeah, with Alex Leonidus, I think his way of training, like, it's really good, and personality plays a huge role too. We've talked a lot
Yeah.
about this personality in your approach. Um, so with Alex Leonidus, um, with the training footage that he showed and what he described, like he does like to lift the heavier loads and really pushing himself hard. And he
Yeah.
described his history of like he built his frame from lifting hard and like remorselessly, basically.
Yeah.
And he still lifts hard and heavy, and he mix in the other rep ranges too, but he like
Mhm.
prefers to train in that way. And like maybe his technique isn't as picture perfect as someone else like Jeff
Yeah.
Nippard, but he's also built a tremendous amount of muscle. So anyways,
Yeah.
the point is you can train you can technically train with these different approaches, and they're more similar than I think
Yeah.
we realize
Oh,
at the
yeah.
end of the day because they're all following these same principles. Um, these different approaches, and I think he makes this point, so Alex makes this point that you can take different approaches and still get close to, or if not the same results. You can
Yeah.
still build
Yeah.
tons of muscle taking different approaches. You know, it's also interesting too. Like I couldn't do purely Alex's approach where like doing things like absolutely ridiculously heavy squats, benches, and deadlifts all the time. Like I have
Yeah.
to mix things up because I know for me, like that whole principle about developing nagging injuries, like my bench, for example, I love benching heavy and I've got a pretty decent bench, but I don't try to lift as consistently as heavy with that specific exercise as often as it makes it seem like he
Yeah.
does because my elbows fall apart. Like just
Hmm.
that's just I don't know. That's just a me thing.
Yeah.
But I still like love training my chest really hard. Just that doesn't necessarily work for me. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know
I
what
think,
are some of your thoughts?
yeah, I think it's just, it's tough when you're talking about like Jeff Nippert and all these other guys. I think it just really boils back down to what are you training for? I also follow a lot of different like hybrid athletes and they train completely different. And but their physiques are awesome. Right? Like, and so I think as you get more specialized in what you're going after, you're gonna have to become more quote unquote optimal, right? And then if we're talking about competing in a sport or competing in a bodybuilding show, you have to conform to those rules of those organizations to be able to be competitive in it. And I think it just like it's naturally going to get narrower. Like you have to become more specific in like our music background, right? Like if if we're going to go play in an orchestra, we're going to maybe practice different things if I'm going to go play in a show band, right? Like, or if I'm going to go play, it's a different technique, a different skill, and we're going to practice different ways to get there. And there are probably some, you know, true like fundamentals that we all have to do, but everyone's individual. I mean, on a little music tangent, I know they always say, oh, you got to have the mouthpiece center, right? You got to play a certain way. Don't puff your cheeks out. You see a lot of great players who are playing all over the place. Hey, they sound
Oh man.
awesome, you know? So it's like, who, why is there anomalies out there? Everyone's different. And if it sounds good, if you look good, kind of who cares how you got there, you know? Um,
For real. For real. That music analogy that really hits home.
mhm,
When I was playing the bass trombone, I hyper fixated on those things, what my
mhm,
embouchure looked and felt like. When at the end of the day, there was players that did things like you mentioned, they puffed up their cheeks or like they had a flipped over looking embouchure, like one lip
mhm.
was more in than the other, the way that and that screwed me up so much because I was so focused on like the approach and
Yeah,
how it looked that I wasn't as focused on the result itself, which is the sound and like being able to play a piece of music beautifully. I was just so focused
yeah,
on the approach that it actually wrecked my result.
yeah.
So,
Do you think that's a personality thing for you? Because I feel like that's how you approach your training too. So like that's and I think I'm the opposite, right? I'm like YOLO, you know, and so it's just interesting.
yeah,
Um,
definitely. Like that's definitely a a personality thing. I think that I it's a for me, it's a personality trait that has evolved over time. So that was like my
mhm,
default personality is to hyper focus on approach. But I
mhm.
think like the music thing actually forced me to learn that lesson. And then
Yeah,
my earlier years in lifting forced me to learn more about this personality trait too. And just over the years of screwing the approach up,
yeah,
it eventually taught me how to have a routine and to refine the approach that I have now to be what's best for me and my personality and my body
yeah, yeah,
and my lifestyle at this point of time. But it took that is kind of it does stem
yeah.
from my base personality traits for sure. That's a good
No,
point.
yeah. No, that's awesome. I think like the thing I think is good about optimal training is kind of like you're talking about all the different lessons you learned is it's okay to not start at zero. I think with people that have gone before with technology, with like science, you can start a little bit ahead. I think the problem is humans, we're stubborn and we have to burn ourselves on the stove before, when our dad tells us, hey, the stove is hot, don't touch it. Even though we know we're still going to touch it, but I think we're getting better at not starting at zero. And I think that's kind of the benefit to optimal training. And that's why, like with you, I think I made such great progress so quickly because like I started with better technique, with better form, with exercises that worked things, and I'm not wasting time and energy on things that maybe are not hitting. So I think there are merits to both. Honestly, as a kind of like a summary of it, I think you as an individual can learn a lot through your own failures and working through stuff. And you're like, man, that didn't work out. Because then you really get in tune with what your body can do and what you're good at. And you're not just doing what someone YouTube video says, but also like if you find people you trust or you just want to try different things, it's like, hey, everyone's saying I should probably do X, Y, and Z. And then you do it and you're like, okay, yeah, I don't have to learn from all the mistakes because we as like humans have like figured this stuff out. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's just kind of like because I think the video is optimal training. He's kind of crapping on it a little bit, but it is good. There are good things from it. You know what I mean? I think there's probably good things on both sides, and you just have to. I think he even says that they're not critical thinkers or whatever. I know he dropped that in there at some point. He can't remember what he's talking about, but yeah, I think you just have to look at it and decide, okay, like what I want to do. I've learned from these people, and I'm going to go hard today, or I'm going to do something more optimal today.
Yeah. I like all of that. I think if I was to kind of summarize my thoughts on it, it would boil down to how you define optimal. What exactly do you mean by optimal? And I think what my favorite definition is for optimal is like what's the best approach each individual can take to get the specific result that they want.
Like that.
So here's an example. For someone that's trying to build lots of muscle for bodybuilding or just for their overall aesthetics, the optimal approach could be to decide to lift 4 times a week because that's what suits their work schedule and their family
Mhm.
life best. So it's optimal in the sense of it is sustainable in their lifestyle and their schedule. So it makes sense. That's optimal. They're in the gym for 60 to 90 minutes. That works in their schedule. So that's optimal because it's enough time to still build muscle and it also fits their life schedule and their work schedule again. So that's optimal, the training time. And then as far as exercise selection goes, a couple things. And Alex makes a point in the video about different equipment and like
Yeah.
some gyms are better equipped than other gyms. So it's like just use the equipment that you have access to in the best way possible. So if you don't have like all prime equipment, for example, like the equipment that where you can set it to overload the
Change the path.
eccentric of the
Yeah.
back exercises, like most gyms don't have that. I've never used a piece of prime equipment in my life. I've always wanted to,
Mhm.
but I've never even tried a piece of that equipment. I've seen them, but never tried them.
Yeah.
I've seen them online. So anyways, if your gym just has basic equipment, then just use the base equipment in the
Mhm.
best way possible. But as far as exercise selection goes, like also it's probably helpful to just pick some exercises that are like interesting or like, dare I say it, like
Yeah.
kind of fun for you.
Well, it
So
should
like,
be fun. Yeah.
yeah, so it's more sustainable. Like
Mhm.
sustainable is probably optimal. And then from there, aim to do it in a way where you can train really hard because that's optimal for building muscle
Yeah.
and in a way where you can progress over time, but not so hard that you can't progress because you injure yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
No,
think
I love it.
that's how I would
I love how
describe
you define
optimal.
optimal, and I think it's interesting. I think it's awesome. I totally agree. Okay, I'm throwing a curveball at you. Speaking of
All right.
optimal,
Uh-oh.
specific exercises. What do
Okay.
you think right now in your training, your vast years of experience, but currently right now where you're at, what is your most optimal exercise you think, and what is your least most optimal exercise?
Well, I think all of them are optimal because I'm able to progress with them and none of them seem to be injurious right now. And I'm able to train all of them really hard. So I think all of them are optimal. None of them
I love it. I love it. I
so
love it.
that said, I do have one exercise that I've had a little bit of a hip injury. So
Mhm.
I will say that because I trained, I think, a little too hard for a little too long, to the point of like something in the hip wasn't having it, and I had to like put the foot on the
Yeah.
brakes. The very thing I was saying to try to not do, I've done that. So anyways, it has forced me to do an exercise, for like a quad based exercise, that I can't tell if I
Is that
love
the
it or
one you're
not.
laying down?
Yes, it's like a
It's interesting. I don't even know
horizontal
what that machine
closed.
is.
It looks like
Talking about gyms who
a
don't have
hack
stuff.
squat.
You know, a
Yeah.
lot of gyms don't have that thing.
I like it a lot, but something about it I don't like, and I can't put my finger on it. It's like I get extreme tension in my quads, but nothing in my adductors. It feels like I'm not doing as much as a hack squat,
Yeah.
and I just miss Bulgarian split squat. So I think what I'm gonna do is,
That
and
makes
this
one
might
of
be a
us.
person, yeah, this might be a personality thing, where I think that as soon as my hip is like good to go, I'm gonna ease my way back into Bulgarian split squats, because it just, I love them. So it's
Yeah.
optimal for me because I love them.
That's crazy.
What do you think? What on your program is not optimal right now, Zach? And what is?
Okay, not optimal is time. I run out of time and I love lifting. So I have to cut my workouts short a lot of times. Because it's just been on a time crunch. I think so. It's really weird, and not to get too technical. So I had this weird thing with my shoulder where, especially when I used to swing in softball, if not, well, softball's a bad example because you should never miss. But in baseball, if I swung and missed, it has like this weird thing where it almost feels like there's my collarbone and then there's like your tendon or something behind it. It like, there's like a little bump that comes up. It's like something like comes in front of it. Like it kind of like, and so I do this like thing and it goes away. Right. Like I had to rotate my
Like a
arm and it
little
goes away.
click kind of a thing. Like you like click or pop something and it's like, oh, there we go.
Yeah, but it's not even like a click. It almost feels like it's something like literally it feels like some tendon or something moves in front of the collarbone.
Interesting.
And I never like do anything because I feel like it would snap. So I just do this like rotation thing and it goes back. So this has happened when I was in high school and whatever, just really weird motion when I swing at a baseball and I miss. Like that's the only thing.
So you got to stop missing.
Right? That's why I started playing slow pitch softball. But
there you go.
I feel it on not when I do wide grip lat pull down, but when I do neutral or like close hand. Sometimes when I'm really feeling it, I can feel it like, starting to do that thing, but it hasn't gotten to a point where it's like popped back out. I don't know. But it's weird. So we're talking about like optimal. Like right now, like I like doing those, but sometimes when I'm doing heavier, I'm like, okay, I gotta be careful because I feel like that. Also my left elbow sometimes on like skull crushers or overhead, like single arm really bad. So I just do skull crushers, like, and it's good. I think my best is my chest exercises. And I don't know why. Like, I think that's why they're my strongest lift, but it's probably because I do better technique than all of them, and it's probably why. But I also enjoy it.
You are good at them, that's for sure. You got a good bench.
Yeah, no, I feel like it's kind of embarrassing when I, say what my squat is compared to my bench, but I've made a lot of progress with the squat too. But yeah, I think that's it's definitely my favorite for sure. But I also do non-optimal towards the last couple of reps every time. My butt starts to come off a little bit.
As far as technique goes, you mean?
Yes, technique. Yep. I do this little weird thing with I go up on my little toes. I know like my feet are planted, but like when I'm at the top, I think it's at the top. Now I don't have to record it again. Or I'm at the bottom before I push up again. I do like this little toe thing, like a hitch or something. Like I have to do like something like it's like just this mental reset kind of for me. It's kind of funny. But yeah, I think that's kind of it. And talking about different exercise and different machines, I ordered is the Prime Day deal. I ordered that one of those Speedience machines.
That's the wall mounted.
Yeah, so tonal is the one that goes on the wall. Expedience is the one that doesn't go on the wall, so you don't have to mount it. It's like the China version, so it's cheaper. But I don't know. I read this way. You can read reviews about them all day. Some you got like it's like anything. You got the tonal group and you got the Expedience group. People love them. right? And I was really didn't want to spend the money on it, and I was trying to justify it or not. I wanted something for the home so my wife can use as well, but I have some friends who you have one and they use it and they all rave on it. They love it. Now the only problem is you can only do it only goes up to like 220 pounds. So I know I'm not going to be able to maybe get all my heavy lifts, and I'm going to have to maybe change some technique because I don't know how the cables work and stuff like that. But I'm excited about it because maybe it's going to give me a new stimulus and something I'm not experiencing. Also, it might force me to go a little bit lighter and do more volume and heavier, like more reps. And also those days that I can't get the gym in, my most non-optimal thing is time. I can be back home and get a workout in. So I think these are like, when we're talking about optimal, like this might give me it's going to give me more flexibility, which is going to make training more optimal. So I'll definitely have to do like a review of it. We'll talk about it once it comes in and I train on it a couple times.
Definitely. I'm excited to hear how it goes. I think that there could be a lot of good stuff that could come from it.
Yeah.
Force you to go outside of your comfort zone a little bit. I love the lower load, high rep stuff. I think it's a special kind of pain. Like, think back to like leg press or like, dare I say, like split squats.
I don't know how you do that. I give up mentally.
It's nasty. Well, I love it. I mean, you love it and you hate it, and the pumps.
But I end my workouts with those. So I don't know how I do that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that either. Like,
it's because I don't do it. I actually give up. So I'm like, oh, look at the time. I gotta go.
Yeah. I'll just do a couple reps here and then it'll count, right? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think? I think
it was good. Yeah, I think
we tackled it. I think we tackled it okay.
It's a very good video. I think people should check it out. It is long. So it's like
Alex's video,
it's just under an hour. Yep, Alex's video. I think everyone should check it out.
I'll link it
there
below.
Is some good information in there. Yeah. So for sure.
Definitely. Sweet. Yep. I think we I think we did I think we covered a lot.
Yeah. Everyone get out there and train optimal.